So I have a, now, and the reason that it does not comply with the, in order to adopt a precise plan, certain findings have to be made. And these findings cannot be made for this project. The first one is that such plan will not, under the circumstances of the particular case, be detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the vicinity, or injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity. The proposed project potentially will be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of residents and workers who live and or work within 1,000 feet of it. It likely will be injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity because it will downgrade the property values of the residents of the area and the new, more commercial type of limited industrial uses moving into the area. Those of us living on Hilltop who can see the existing plan from our homes will definitely see the 70-foot exhaust stack, and I don't think that will help my property values either. I'm within, let's see, well, I'm within 1 mile of it. So I'm on the other. According to the simulations shown at the community meeting, people along Albany, and actually they were shown here, will see a tiny portion of the stacks as well. There's a certain stigma of living this close to such an inappropriate use, as well as the negative health effects of the air contamination and the danger of the ammonia stored on site. And this could create, and probably has, created property values as well as people's health, safety, and general welfare. There is a particular concern for the health and safety of the 77 employees of Heartland Meat who work adjacent to this peaker. They are in and out of that facility and the parking lot all day long. This puts them in very close proximity, like 50 to 100 feet, to that 12,000 gallons of aqueous ammonia stored on site, as well as the emissions from the plant and the ammonia slip and accidental spills. Number 2. Another finding that must be made. That said plan satisfies the principle for the application of the P modifying district as set forth in Chula Vista Municipal Ordinance 19.56.041. And if you look at the ordinance, it has A, B, C, or D that must, one or more must apply to this case. But actually allowing heavy industrial here will allow an incompatible use. This proposed use is not compatible with any of the commercial light industrial uses envisioned for these new void warehouse buildings. It is also totally incompatible with the residential uses within 500 feet of the property and less. Therefore, it does not satisfy the principle of the P zone, which is to allow for compatible uses. Also, a cup cannot be issued either because these findings cannot be made either. That the proposed use of a particular location is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility which will contribute to the general well-being of the neighborhood or the community. This use will not provide a use or service of benefit to the Southwest community, particularly not the residents that live within 1,000 feet of it. The electricity generated here will go into the grid. Solar collectors could generate the 65 megawatts that Chula Vista uses. In fact, the 2 warehouses on either side of the current peaker have flat roofs that would be perfect for large-scale solar installations, such as what HP and Google have recently undertaken. The amount to be invested in this new peaker plant could buy a huge amount of reliable, clean solar energy. This particular location is inappropriate for any gas-fired plant. There are at least 3 other locations that would be much better and further away from sensitive receptors. The next finding, that such use will not, under the circumstances of the particular case, be detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the vicinity, or injurious to property or improvements in the vicinity, very similar to the precise plan. This use would be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the people working at Heartland Meat and the residents living within 1,000 feet of the peaker plant, as the current facility also is detrimental, which is why it should be ordered removed. There is the issue of ammonia slip. There appears to be no monitoring program to prevent this. There needs to be a plan made available to residents and businesses to deal with the accidental spillage of ammonia. The transport of ammonia, since the tank will need refilling approximately every 220 hours, which is math I did by dividing the amount they use per hour. So if it says in the AFC, you said, how often could it be filled, 2 or 3 weeks? That adds up to a lot more than the amount of hours that they are predicting, which would make sense because in order to get their investment back, they need to run this plant more hours than that. There is a question of, there needs to be a plan made available to residents and businesses to deal with the accidental spillage of ammonia, the transport of ammonia, since the tank needs refilling, the route of the trucks, safety precautions, and this is, I know Mr. Miller said that there's never been an explosion of an ammonia truck in California. Well, I don't want to see the first one in my neighborhood. We don't need trucks full of ammonia coming through our streets. We already have an excessive amount of truck traffic on Main Street. In fact, that brings us to cumulative effects. We have all of this truck traffic on Main Street, heavy diesel trucks, and we also have Hanson's aggregates down the street, and that blows. I mean, there are many people who wash their cars constantly because they've got this white substance all over it from the particulate matter from that plant, which is actually visible. So we don't need any more. We also need the safety precautions. We need to know the consequences of an explosion or a spill. Would there be a toxic cloud or pollution generated? And actually somebody answered my question during the site visit and said that's not likely because the water mixed in with it would prevent it from leaving a site. How far would it drift? How toxic is it? What are the negative health effects of the 5 or more ppm that will be part of the normal exhaust of the peaker? There does not currently appear to be any steel reinforcement of this tank, while I was noticing, reading on the database of the Energy Commission about other plants, that many of them do have steel reinforced tanks and have other precautions around their tanks. And considering that there are people walking around like 50 to 100 feet from this tank, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And there's no attempt to disguise its location. There's no special security or safety precautions that I can see. And then the third one, that the granting of this conditional use will not adversely affect the general plan of the city or the adopted plan of any government agency. The general plan specifically has wording to protect the integrity of OBRP adjacent to this plant. The current plant is practically in the river bottom. Even tearing down the existing plant and moving a new one to the north will still leave the view of the 70-foot tall stacks with heat pollution waves coming out of them for most of the summer. And I know that this is what happened with the current plant when it was first built, because I worked at Montgomery High School and we were out in our garden, and I could always look over there in the summer and see all this heat coming up. And when I drove home past it, I could see it. And it was practically every day, all summer long. At least for the first year of operation. Lastly, it was our understanding that this plant would be air-cooled. Okay, why is potable water being wasted on cooling it? 85 acre-feet in this time of drought and shortage are excessive. Reclaimed water is available from the Otay Water Company. If the new plant were located at the Otay landfill or in Otay Mesa, where in the landfill there's a 1,000-foot buffer will always be maintained according to our general plan, it would be close enough to use the reclaimed water lines for Otay Water Company, either those installed for Village 3 at the landfill or the ones that are in Otay Mesa. There is also the possibility that the methane produced at the landfill could power the plant instead of using scarce natural gas, which was another staff issue, that actually natural gas is another constraint. This would be a real win-win situation all around. Since the landfill already has a cogeneration plant on site, most, if not all, of the needed infrastructure is already there. Several people have made inquiries to Allied Waste, and they are not opposed to this possibility. Staff has already, in their potential issues reported, expressed concern about pollution, land use,